One thing that often comes up in conversations with my athletes or just conversations that I have with people online is this feeling as a runner of not being good enough. And this is really common among those athletes who are committed to getting better and are performance based in their running and committed to specific goals that they have for themselves. It's easy to get wrapped up in everything else that's going on around them and not focusing on their own journey. And this is a really, really tough place to be, even though it is common. So that's what I want to talk about today, really silencing that self doubt, because the reality is not only is being stuck in this kind of imposter syndrome mindset going to take away the joy from your running, which is really what we should be focused on, number one, as adults in this journey. But it's also going to stall your progress and prevent you from reaching those goals that you want to achieve for yourself. So the first one I want to talk about is the too slow trap. So this is one of the phrases that I hear so often, and that's I'm a slow runner, or I'm too slow to do XYZ. So this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. They have just labeled themselves as being someone who is slow, which is not helpful in any way, shape, or form to anyone. And the interesting part of this is that I will have people tell me that they are a slow runner, maybe even running a marathon at faster than a 9-minute mile pace, all the way up to 16 plus mile pace. And so that's a very wide range. So it's just interesting for me to hear people say that they're slow, which I would never label them as that no matter what. The reality is you're doing way more than the person who's not even running or getting involved in that particular race distance that you're interested in doing. And so the focus really needs to be on just you're getting out there, and by you being involved in the process is only going to make you stronger and faster. But you just saying over and over, I'm slow, then you're not really in this position of believing in yourself that you can get any faster or that you can be someone labeled as fast. But we all have to think of this more as on a spectrum. We all are slower than someone. We are all slower than many, many, many people, right? And everybody watching this channel is really an adult runner who is doing this for enjoyment and getting more out of life, seeing their potential, being the best they can be. None of us are elites. And so the reality is it should just be you versus you and wanting to improve upon yourself and not worried about what other paces everyone else is doing, because I promise you, as the coach, I am definitely not focused on that at all, and you shouldn't be either. The second one that we get into of having this self-doubt is not having that typical runner's body. Now, when we watch the Olympics, we all already have formulated an expectation of the body type that goes along with each of these sports that we're probably watching. So if it's gymnastics, they're all going to have this muscular build and they're all on the shorter side. If we're watching basketball, then they're all mostly tall and lean. And so we use that then in our heads of like, that's what the body type should be for that particular sport. And let's be honest, that's true in the running world as well. For the most part, when we see those athletes on TV running the marathon, for example, their bodies look similar to each other, and it's easy to get caught up in this, well, I like to run, but my body doesn't look like that at all. So I don't have a runner's body. I will never be able to reach my goals. I will never be good at that. And the reality is we should not be using those elites as our what we're comparing it to of what that body should look like. We are everyday people who are often working full time, have families, are, running at more of an advanced age than what these elite runners are running at. And so to compare yourself to them and what their bodies look like, these people who are training at this insanely high level, is just immediately setting yourself up for feeling bad and for feeling like a failure when that's completely the opposite of what you are. So instead of thinking that there is this one runner's body type, you just want to work with the body that you have, be the healthiest self that you can be, getting stronger, getting faster, nutritionally doing what we need to do to get the gains out of our races that we want to see. Really focus on that, working with your body instead of working against it, because you're only going to get burnt out, frustrated, upset, down on yourself if you're always in this space of, I don't have the typical runner's body, so I'll never be good. I understand it's also something that I have had to go through myself. Honestly, I have more of, what someone might have thought as a kid, like a gymnast body, or I've had people ask me, do you do CrossFit? I rarely get people asking me, do you run marathons? I don't have your typical body that would be running faster marathons. And I got that out of my head, qualified for Boston, and improved. Do I still have some of that? Yeah. I mean, I would love to say that I don't have any of that. It is hard. It does permeate into our brains, but you have to be able to be stronger than those thoughts in order to make progress in your running journey the way that you want to. So that number 2 really falls under this bigger umbrella of number 3, which is that constant comparison. And honestly, number 1 also, where we're just saying, I'm not fast enough. I don't have the right gear. I'm too old. I'm too slow. I'm too overweight. Whatever it might be that's holding you back, you're constantly comparing yourself to those other runners out there who have what you perceive to be more than what you have, or a better ability to go after their goals than what you do. And the reality is we are never going to be that person. The other reality is what we are seeing online or even in the people around us isn't even a true depiction or a reality. So that's why I want to share that I have these feelings too, because if I'm not transparent about that or forthcoming about the struggles that I've had in my journey, or just act like, I've never thought I was too slow, I've never said those words, or I've never compared to other people, I've never worried about wanting to be skinnier so I could be faster. I mean, that isn't the reality, but I have done a lot of mental work myself to try to get past that. And I do a lot of mental work with my athletes to get past those things too, because I want them to be the best runner that they can be, reach their potential, and I know that's only going to stall their progress. So solutions to this would be really curating what kind of content you are taking in, really paying attention to how somebody you follow on social media makes you feel. And I don't want to say that particular person, just because they make you feel a certain way, doesn't necessarily mean that their content is bad or they're doing something negative, but this is about you and how you feel. And so if whatever they're posting makes you feel less than, then you have the power to unfollow them, and that's totally fine. You move on and you follow the people who you feel inspired by, who give you really good energy, who make you feel better about yourself. It doesn't just mean that you need to cut out everyone who's faster than you, but there are those people who you can tell in your gut, they're making you feel worse about yourself, whereas there are other people who make you want to be better. Or it's following people who are on a similar journey to you, or just their story resonates with you. So I really encourage you to just kind of do an overhaul of your social media. What are you paying attention to? And how can you adjust that so that you are making it a positive experience? But I would also say this is about who you surround yourself also, not just online, but the people who make you feel good about yourself. And so I just encourage you to curate what your surroundings look like in person and on social media. That's going to make a big difference in you not getting caught up in that comparison trap. Another thing that I see among people who really experience a lot of self-doubt is avoiding challenges for fear of failure. So this is something very prevalent among those people who are wanting to run the marathon distance. They've run all the distances, 5K through half marathon. Maybe they've run several half marathons and they just don't feel ready for the marathon, or there's just something in their head that's holding them back, saying to them, I can't do it. When the reality is the majority of people who go after the marathon distance have a successful race. They get to the finish line. There is possibility that you don't finish your marathon and it will feel like a failure to you, which is understandable. But you also have to consider the fact of like how much you learn in the process of signing up for the marathon, doing the marathon training, being brave and going after this scary, scary goal that you know could end in you not finishing. There is something magical about that feeling and going through that process. To be honest, it's why I love the marathon distance so much is there are things that can go wrong. There is a lot more out of your control than in the shorter distances. And there always is that feeling in your back of your head of like, what if something happens? What if I completely cramp up and my legs don't move and I can't even get to the finish line? I've run 14 marathons, you guys, and I still have those feelings. And so it takes a lot of bravery to just start the process, go through all of that. But you learn so much about yourself. And we know that if that were to happen, then you get the opportunity to try again. It's such a small number of people who actually finish a marathon, even go after the marathon distance, that's already putting you in this group of people who does hard things, who are super brave, who do something scary. And that filters into the rest of your life and what other things that you want to put yourself in the face of that you know are going to be really, really challenging. So I'll share something with you that really helped me start to go after qualifying for Boston because I knew that it was going to be a really tough journey, very, very hard intensity and volume and a huge, huge commitment of going after that. But I listened to some podcasts of some people who were to me just like regular runners, just like me. They kind of started where I did, made this huge progress in the marathon distance, and then ended up being able to qualify for Boston and run Boston. And so at that time, I wrote this new narrative in my head, and it was, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? And that was really the fire that I needed to start going after this big goal, knowing that I could fail over and over again and not get the goal. And that did happen to me. I did not qualify for Boston the first time that I tried. This happens to people many times when they're going after a big goal in the marathon distance, breaking 5, breaking 4. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have that goal. You need to have a goal that's scary enough that's going to push you, because if you don't, then you're always going to be wondering what that potential is and you're never actually going to be reaching it. So if that's even running a distance for the first time, even if it's just the half marathon distance, that's a big deal when you've never done it before. It's scary and it's really amazing what you learn about yourself in the process, and you have to believe that you can do it. Go after it, and you're going to be so glad that you did. 99% of the time, it's going to be absolutely worth it. So I find that runners who really struggle with this self-doubt piece put themselves in a position of not feeling good enough or being undeserving or being unworthy, being able to go after a new distance or hiring a coach or getting into this sought after race that maybe you think, I don't deserve to be here. This is only for the fast people. You have to let that go. That's not true. That's a narrative in your own head. And yeah, I know there's haters on the internet who are also making you feel that way. You have to ignore those people and understand that most of the running community is cheering you on, wants you to improve, wants you to be there, and is so excited to have you. So those are the narratives that you need to write in your head. And I want to tell you that a coach is for anyone who is willing to put in the work and wants to improve, wants to get better, and see what they can do. It's not just for the fastest people. I've had people reach out and say, do you coach runners like me, people who are slow? 100%, we coach people of all levels who are going after different race times. It has absolutely nothing to do with your paces or the race times that you are going for, and has everything to do with, are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to say, yes, I can, this is my time, I'm ready? Because I promise, if you don't do this, there's someone else feeling exactly the same way you do right now, having a lot of self doubt, who is waking up and saying, no more. I'm going to believe in myself. I'm going to invest in myself to be the best that I can be. So if you guys are interested in seeing what I have available on my team, please reach out. I will go ahead and put the link below. It is always my goal to give our athletes the best experience possible so that they can show up on that starting line ready and improve and feel just empowered in their running journey and so excited about the investment that they made in themselves. Thanks for joining me today, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.